Yo, what's up, guys? It's Dae Deville, and I'm here drinking at Moe's. What's in the cup? Who knows? Who cares? Tune in, maybe you'll find out. Let's get started.
All right, everybody, taking time out before we get this show started. I want to thank Reaper Apparel for having Drinkin be a brand ambassador for their clothing line. They got good stuff. They got t-shirts, they got hoodies, they got beanies, they got lots of great stuff, encouraging everybody to break out of their comfort zone, live their best self, and hey, it's something I try to live every day. Now, be sure when you go and you're filling out your order, use the code Drinkin at Moe's, get 10% off, and the link and the code will both be in the description. Let's fucking everybody go. Welcome, Drinkin at Moe's. Big Mo here. You know the drill by now. Whether YouTube, like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good shit, because YouTube's algorithm is a pain in the ass. Although I am growing because I just passed 300. That words are hard. 300 subscribers as of recording this. I'm actually at 301 now. But don't forget, also leave a review on the audio platforms too, because yeah, I'm on most of them. Today, I'm excited to have with me another talent out of MPX. We talked about it before camera. I'm losing count of how many people I've had on through there. Dae Deville, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to be sitting here with you. You know, we got an exciting week down here at MPX, so this is perfect timing for me.
Oh, that you guys do. I know, what was it, last week I recorded with Purple Haze.
Oh, no, those guys. Don't tell me about those guys, man. My last running with those guys wasn't too great.
Yeah, I was noticing and doing my homework for the episode. I did see you had a little run-in with them. Mm-hmm. You know, I've had Prince Alexander on by himself, and then a little birdie in the name of Brick Savage told me I should have them both on. I'm like, well, shit, that would be cool.
They're characters, man. They are characters. You know what? I mean, those guys, I gotta say a little something about those guys. First of all, screw those guys, but at the overall though, man, they're top tier talent, those two. Those guys in the ring with them, it's golly, man. I'm green in the game, and those guys, they do magical work, and they're so in sync with what they're doing. It's another level. I'm like, how are you guys so in tune with each other and from outside to inside? It's like the same guy, it's awesome. But I can talk all day about those guys.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy now that I think back on it. It was like, holy crap, it was almost talking to the same person there.
It's crazy. It's like that in person. It's like that in the ring. I don't know who I'm working with in the ring, man. Who is it? Is it Stevie? Is it Prince? I mean, it doesn't matter. Next thing I know, I got a guy flying at me, and that's it. That's all that's going on.
But before we dive too deep into MPX and everything they got going on as of recording this, first thing I'd like to start off with everybody with, what got you started as a fan, and then what got you finally decided to make that leap into the business?
I'll try to make it not as long-winded as possible, but of course, fandom came as a kid, as we all are. We all see, we see the larger-than-life guys on the television, and it's, golly, I want to do that. I need to find me some of that. And then you get older and realize, well, I guess it ain't that easy, and then, and you kind of grow out of it for a while. I mean, I loved wrestling, and obviously still love wrestling, but loved it so much as a kid. But as I got older, you get into sports and other things like that. There was no wrestling in my school. There wasn't even Greco, there wasn't even NCAA. So I mean, I got into other things, and they lost the way of it for a while. I got into competitive bodybuilding. So that's what I did for most of my life. was bodybuilding. That's what my career is in. I own nutrition stores in my real life. And my life was bodybuilding through and through forever, for over a decade. What got me to leap into wrestling as a partaking and becoming a professional. I was prepping for a national championship show in bodybuilding. And I was getting real burnt out. I was kind of tired of the whole song and dance of that. And some buddies of mine had been going out to this local wrestling promotion called NPX. And I didn't even know there was local wrestling. I've been under a rock. So like, man, you got whatever, just come out and watch the show. So I go out and watch the show, and I got spoiled when I went to this show because I'm, Stephen Kirby, the original owner of Metro NPX Wrestling.
Yeah, I vaguely remember him. Yeah.
Well, Kirby was the original owner, right? And he trained with Matt Palmer and Athena and Lance Archer and all these great people. And everyone had come through NPX under Stephen Kirby. Well, I happened to go to his retirement show, and the place is just packed. It's packed. And, I got a look about me. I'm a bodybuilder. So I'm walking around the place, and people are asking me who I'm wrestling for. Hey, where do you wrestle out of? Who's promotion you? Are you on the show? I was like, I don't even know what the hell this thing is. And I'm watching the show, and I'm seeing all this, they're getting the cheers and the boos, and the fans are getting so involved. And I'm like, man, I got to get me some of this. I didn't know there was this existed, Then I was told there was school, they had an academy, and I went home and talked to my wife, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go do that. I stopped the prep for the show that I was getting ready for, and enrolled in NPX, the Wrestling Academy, like I want to say a month later. And it's been to the races. I mean, it was my birthday, November 9th, 2022 is the day that I stepped into a wrestling ring.
Nice. Yeah, there's been thoughts in the back of my head at different times, especially after getting back from the Navy. But I think for me, what got me settled on, trying to figure out another way to be involved in the business was coincidentally going to a wrestling boot camp at the hotel I was put in the night before I left for Navy boot camp.
No shit.
There was a event center attached to the hotel, and then I remember I stepped into the room where the entrance to the venue was, and I realized, holy crap, this was actually the check-in area of the hotel when I left. So I had this flashback of me leaving out the door. I'm like, God damn it, no, not again.
Here we go again.
But then I was walking funny for about a week after that. So I'm like,
oh, man.
Yeah.
Maybe. I tell you what, man, I put my body through a lot of stuff for bodybuilding. So I've had a lot of injuries, and there was times when I couldn't walk right couldn't walk, for a month after some bad knee injuries, some training. But when I got into wrestling training, and I'm past 30 at this point, I've already got some miles on me as it is. Wrestling's a young man's game. Let's be honest. If you're talking about really trying to go, and I was like, you know what, man, but I'm in good shape, so I'm gonna give this a run. And the first 2 or 3 months, every day I was thinking to myself, what the hell did I get myself into? What did I get myself into? I'll tell you what, man, there was not a day went by my neck wasn't in pain. But the thing was, I'll tell you this, is I never got the burnt out feeling of it. It was, golly, this hurts, but man, I can't wait to go back tomorrow. And that is what really kept me really going, because in bodybuilding I didn't have that, man. I had lots of mental breakdowns during diets and getting preparations and whatnot, and it never felt like wrestling felt for me. This was like, golly, I'll tell you this, I felt like I was letting people down if I didn't continue, because these people were taking the time, to train me and put me through this and work with me, right? And I was like, you know what? I feel for the first time ever, I know wrestling isn't a team sport. I've never been in a team sport setting like that, but it felt like a team sport. And if I wasn't going to continue, I'd be letting everyone down. So there you go.
I get you there. I know I've had plenty of friends in the business, here local to me, and where I actually got started watching independent wrestling in Southern California. And more power to everybody that puts their bodies through all that, because while I hate the term fake, I like the term predetermined more, because there's a lot of aspects of the business that predetermined, but the damage you guys take to get to that point,
of course,
you can't fake a lot of that. Like,
it's action acting, it's stunt work. It's I saw old clip of Chris Jericho said it better than anybody's ever said it before. We're stuntmen who do it with no safety net in one take. That's it.
Exactly.
Same thing that any stuntman would do. Those guys get all the praises in the world. Jackie Chan gets hung up on a mantle. He does his own stunts, So at the end of the day, professional wrestling, a work or not, it's actually funny, and to kind of put this into a funny kind of perspective here. I mean, you've been around wrestling for quite some time. I mean, you've been involved inside this business in terms of the behind the scenes longer than I have. And when I got into wrestling, I was showing some family members, like, hey, so I took to my grandmother, and some of her friends, and we're watching one of the shows on YouTube, and we know that things go wrong in wrestling rings, right?
Yeah.
And the funny thing was, and I realized this, so we're watching, and something got miscommunicated, yada yada yada. I take a line, I didn't know I was going to take it, and I bump on it anyway. And one of her friends says, "Oh, that was fake." And in my mind, I'm thinking that was the realest thing this whole match, because I did not know I was going to take that line. That guy actually legitimately knocked me out, and I was like, that was the most real thing out of everything we've been watching just now. Because if you look at if you watch an actual fight, that's not UFC. Come on now, not the professionals. You watch an actual ballroom brawl, it's sloppy as hell.
Yeah.
Those guys they're going for the neck, So real fighting is very ugly. Choreographed fighting is very that choreographed and pretty. Wrestling is a bit of both. It's real / choreography. I mean, if more, I think I saw something about someone said, okay, just go try one class and tell me if it's fake.
Exactly.
Just go to the intro class and tell me if it's fake.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And hell, it's not even just the wrestlers that are taking damage in there. You might have heard or even seen a clip of a referee at an NXT house show that literally had his ankle just snap.
Oh, I did not see that, but I believe it very much so.
I was at that show.
Son of a bitch.
I was literally at that show, and he still counted the 1, 2, 3 at the end, and I'm main floor, not too far from the entrance. They wheeled him right by me. You could literally see his ankle like at an angle like that.
I think what a lot of guys, a lot of fans, of course, people who are watching, the referees go through just as much training. I mean, most referees start as wrestlers. It's actually rare that a referee started as a referee. I mean, a lot of times that one of the referees that I that's kind of mentored me a little bit. I mean, I've learned more from refs than I have from wrestlers. Okay, because I mean, who's observing the actual match here, right?
Yeah.
I can learn from guys all day in terms of moves and spots and whatever. But when it comes to ring placement, understanding the crowd, understanding where to have your opponent, understanding how to work the match in its entirety, referees have taught me so much. And those guys, keep in mind, a ref is reffing 2-3 matches a night. Okay.
Sometimes the whole show.
Yeah, they're jumping down, doing those 3 counts. They're jumping in and out of the ring. They're taking some bumps from time to time. Those guys are getting worked, and it's just as dangerous being a ref as it is being a wrestler. And you bringing it up as you brought it up, it's not brought up enough. Not at
Oh
all.
yeah,
Not at all.
yeah.
Refs are beasts. I wouldn't want to ref.
And I have been lucky enough to have a good handful of refs on. Next month I got about 2 or 3 more already scheduled
Awesome.
because I love hearing the stories that they have behind everything.
Do you know Travis Trueborn?
The name sounds familiar.
That's a he's an alumni ref with us. That guy goes back to the old PCW days, him and Matt Palmer from way back then. This guy's got, if you want a history of independent wrestling in Texas, that's your man. If you ever get some time to ever reach out to Travis, that guy, when I say I've learned a lot, you know, I come in wet behind the ears as it is, and this guy takes me aside. I mean, more faster than anybody did. Anybody. And just it was never a reaming, it was never light. It was never, oh, hey, you're doing great. It's like it should have been like this. And it was the only guy, right? I mean, other folks, because wrestlers are all trying to get their own stuff in, man. They're all performers. The ref, I make the ref look good if I do right. So his whole thing is like, look, man, we're working together all the time. It's like this, it's like this. But also, if I say, well, I'm trying to do this, he's like, well, that makes sense. So if you're going to go that route, go this angle. I've learned more from that guy than I've learned from most wrestlers. And said, Travis Trueborn, remember that name.
I will definitely be doing that. And one last thing before we jump into, some stuff with the big weekend MPX has coming up as of this recording. I love hearing stories about how people come up with their in-ring personas, because we talked about, how some of the initial training goes and all that. And I can understand, especially with the amount of episodes I've done and people I've talked to, that the first little bit can sometimes be a bit of a feeling out process, like what's going to work. Kind of like what I've done with some of the stuff with the show. Like at the start, I had little bits, but then I'm like, that's not working so much, so I'm going to put this here. How did that come about for you?
So I got a little lucky in terms of the promoters. I came in at a time where promoters really liked me really early because I had a look. Let's just get there out the way. I walk in and I have a look. So the booker's like, when's he on? And I haven't even learned how to bump yet, but I'm under Athena and Palmer and their perfection. It needs to be, if it's going to be on, because they had just taken over the promotion. So they're not going to have a bunch of non-trained wrestlers just go into their ring. There's going to be a level of, perfection there. So they said, we're going to give them some time. But under their tutelage, under their guidance there, we worked lots of different characters. I initially wanted to be something of a holy man, a con man. Just out the gate, I look like a villain. I look like a bad guy, man. I don't do sympathy well. Not that I'm some hard ass in real life. I'm as soft as a teddy bear. I'm a salesman in the real world. Nicest guy you'll ever meet. But when I'm walking through a door, I'm going to a wrestling ring, I look mean and I look like a bad man. So, and as I think you're aware, usually when you're starting, you start off as a face. You're a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's usually how you're supposed to start. So I already was backwards. I'm green, but I already have the look of a bad guy. So we had to work me backwards. It just so happened that during the time that I was getting my training taken care of, I was pretty much ready to start getting on the show. The booker was wanting to start a new faction, it's called the TWC, Texas Wrestling Commission. And obviously, we're authority figures and nobody likes authority. So I was the first guy to be in that. So I come out in the business suit, and the crowd just they hated me, and they still do hate me, which is great. But of course, it worked really well. So I was given my character in the beginning, go out there and just get them to get mad at you. Now, over the course of the growing of the faction, I was able to start getting a little bit more free reign on who I was as a person. And I'm more of a metro kind of guy in terms of my parent or sorry, my likes and things like this. I like bright colors. I like yada yada yadas. I like fashion design and things like this. So when choosing my name, I chose it after Cruella de Vil, the Disney character. Right. So the idea for my character is to be, I'm a powerhouse of a guy. I can pick anybody up and put him down. But I'm also a snake, and I'm also conniving, and I'm also willing to cheat any way that I don't care how it looks. I don't care if it makes you look like it makes me look weak. I'll cheat in those kind of ways. I will be a slimy, slimy snake, but if I'm tested, I'll break a man in half. So having a little bit of both, but at the same time, it's kind of the gold dust persona. Is this guy, what team does this guy play for? That kind of thing. That's kind of, and so in there, it's a combination of mishmash of, my likes and interests, but also what I'm willing to do to win. And I can win any way versus, most are going to win one kind of way. You're going to be a snake or you're going to be a powerhouse, but I'm going to be both. But I'm also going to do it with a smile, and I can turn on you any second. So we're still evolving, but at the same time, this groove is fit really, really well to where it doesn't matter the ring attire that I come out in. They're like, everyone just, it works. Where do I come in? I can come in a fur jacket that week, and I can come in, thong next week. It doesn't matter. It works. He's just going to go wrestle. So that's kind of where it's at. But of course, evolution, brother. Evolution. We'll keep on doing it.
Yeah, one of those things where it's like you keep people wondering because they could be like, oh, I've seen this guy before, but this guy doesn't look the same. And they're getting kind of a, for lack of a better way to put it, like a false sense of security. Like, right. But then it's like, no matter how you cheat or however you win, it's like you let people know that it's like, oh, if they try to test that, you could just boom, you got them broken in half there.
Well, yeah, of course that. He said, I by no means. I mean, even I'll cheat with a smaller competitor, a guy who I could just obviously just pick up and break in half, but I'd rather just cheat. I'd rather just humiliate or make look bad. It's funny. I actually had a fan come to me and thank me for scaring their child the other day. Like, you scared him straight, because I look silly. I come out and I might have a silly thing going. The next thing I know, I'm showing the teeth. I'm angry, and it's a scary visage because if I'm angry at you, I look like a very angry person. But I'm usually coming out there more jovial, more sinister, more funny, and then I'm just very manic, very angry, and it bothers the kids, and that's exactly what I'm going for. I'm trying to scare the kids. I don't want the kids to feel safe. You're not supposed to feel safe when I'm around. So that's exactly how it is. So it's every other. So when it's to the fans themselves, they never ever know what I'm going to give them. I'll come out in a different attire often, and sometimes depending on the attire, I'm trying to assault their intelligence. My original, my first official attire was Dalmatian print, right? Deville, Dalmatian. But of course, the uncultured swine that is wrestling fandom, they did the moo cow chant. I was a cow for a few months, so I'll bring that back every now and then just to give them a little something. So that's the fun part about it. Give it to them, take it away. Give it to them, take it away. And we're all on that train together.
Oh yeah. Some of my favorites have kind of gone along those lines, like guys, well, especially the scaring people, because I know one of my early favorites. Well, wasn't so much a favorite of mine back then because he scared the crap out of me, but Bruiser Brody.
Oh yeah.
Seeing him with the way he just waved the chain around and stuff.
Yeah.
As a little kid, scared the shit out of me.
And you don't know what to think. You don't know what to think. Either he looks maybe at first maybe he's Santa Claus and he's not. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's
you find that out quick.
Oh yeah.
And then you bring up Lance Archer, kind of the same, like especially when he was in New Japan, where he'd like have the water bottle, he swig it, and then he just like chuck it out and just damn near scaring the crap out of people. And I just remember watching, and I'm like, oh my God, I love that dude. And I actually, one of my hobbies back here, this whole top row is signed wrestling figures. And the second one I ever got was actually his.
No shit. Awesome.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Lance Archer is the first, I want to say the first television professional wrestler I've ever met. And it wasn't at a show or anything like this. Like I said, I own nutrition stores, and he lives near me, so he's actually a customer of my stores. And like he comes in. I'm like, who's this guy? And I said, this years ago when, like I said, I had stuff with my fandom, but I wasn't keeping up with wrestling. I know Lance is a legend, but I wasn't keeping up with any wrestling at all. Lance comes in, I'm like, this guy's something. What does this guy do? And then through the couple times in, I find out he's wrestling. He's a wrestler. I was like, oh my goodness. And then I comes to find out he knows my trainers that whenever I get into it, so I get into, I let him know, hey, I got involved. Like, oh yeah, I've been with them forever. I know them for 20 years. So I was like, oh shit. Small world, of course. We're all in Texas. We're all going to know each other at some point. But yeah, Lance was the first guy I ever actually met in person, and it wasn't as a wrestler in my eyes.
Yeah, I
awesome
think
guy.
Trying to remember the first one I met. The one I remember off the top of my head was actually Tommy Dreamer.
Oh, that's important.
That one was actually when WWE still had that restaurant in Times Square.
Okay.
I actually went there one time for a SmackDown viewing party and ended up running into him at that.
Nah, I would have fanboyed out. I'm a big ECW guy. Very big ECW guy. I mean, no promotion is better to me than ECW. That's serious business to me.
I fanboyed out a little bit. And then, well, before we jump into MPX, because talking about running into TV wrestlers, I actually had a situation like that at Disney World of all places.
No shit.
I was walking out and with my family, and I don't know if my shoe came untied. I was bending down to pick it. I was bending down to do something. And as I get up, I see this T-Rex skull tattoo on this guy's shoulder. And I look up and he's with his family, but I'm like, oh my God, that's Kevin Owens.
Oh yeah. That's awesome.
Awesome. I was like, you know what? I know I saw him, but he's with his family, so I don't want to ruin his family time. But I definitely ran up to my wife like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Oh yeah. Got to. Yeah.
Oh,
so I've met, I mean, a lot of like, in my field, bodybuilding, I met every bodybuilder, I never fanboyed over any of them. They're all just regular guys. But, in wrestling, if I had met some of the ECW guys, right, an RVD, a Dreamer, a Sabu, Taz, I mean, dude, any of those guys,
God, if I met Taz.
I would have, that's even at this day, I'm like, oh my goodness, those are the guys. I can't really think of any other guys. I mean, I love every wrestler, respect all of them, but something about that ECW time, like that specific card of guys.
Oh yeah.
It's magic to me. It's magic.
That definitely I can understand. I know there's a handful from there that, I would be, but brought this up last night and with somebody I recorded with, but same thing. He did have some time there. And, well, one guy that I would definitely I'd be speechless if I ever got to meet him. Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Oh, of course.
Like
That's wrestling royalty. I mean,
I built him
up.
Yeah, I built him up so much in my head that if I ever was actually in the same room with him, I don't know if I'd be able to get a word out.
Yeah, right. Couldn't even talk. Yeah, some guys. There's got to be some. We all have fans. We all have idols that are like that. I mean, Stone Cold, man, of course.
So, and you know, before I keep on saying before we go into MPX, but speaking of ECW originals, I have actually had 2 on the show.
No shit.
One maybe a little lesser known, but he's actually also a member of the Anoa'i family, Lloyd Anoa'i.
Okay.
He told me a story of him, and I forget what venue, but him and New Jack, and they were warned, the venue, because they were they'd have to pay for whatever if it got destroyed. So they got told to be careful, and then they both proceed to go through a wall.
Of course they do, as you do.
And then, one of the more well-known, probably more, towards the relative end of the original run, but Jason Knight.
Oh yeah, you got some classics, some classic boys on there.
Oh yeah,
I was literally just watching something about Knight. I think like an hour or so before you and I came on today. Yeah, Jason Knight's the man. That's some good guys.
Oh yeah, and that's just ECW guys, but I could go on and on about that. Wanting to talk about MPX because as of recording this, they got a big show coming Saturday the 16th, and it's titled Destiny. I released an episode yesterday with the guy that's going to be in the main event.
I bet you did.
Aaron Eagle, which Palmer arranged that, which all the respect to him. I'll have him on. But this is shaping up to be, there's been social media posts about it being the biggest MPX show ever. I'm like, looking at this card, I'm like, it's freaking huge.
Oh, it's beyond huge. For me myself to have fallen into a time to where I'm able to compete in it after being in the business for such a short time is monumentous for myself. But the card itself is going to be crazy. The venue, the biggest venue ever. Now, MPX has done a co-show at this venue before with Revolver. And Wrestling Revolver, when they do come to our area, they also use this venue as well. The place is called the Epic. And it's, if I'm not mistaken, so the Epic is a giant event center alongside of a very, very gigantic indoor water park. And I want to say it's the biggest in America. So it's a very huge place, entertainment-wise, in this North Texas area. And for us to go into this venue it's monumentous. It's been coming up, and the work that Palmer, Athena, and the Pruitt family, the co-owners of Metroplex Wrestling, the work that they've done to, just in this time that they've owned the promotion in a short time, the work they've done to really push MPX into these bigger stardom type lights, I can't speak enough of it. I mean, I entered it right when they were starting, so I feel like an infant in it, like I was a part of it by all means. It ain't, I'm just the guy that shows up and jumps in that ring every week. But for what they've done in terms of promotion, retention of fans, retention of wrestlers, and really getting out there and understanding local professional wrestling, it's wacky, man. And this card it's kick-ass. Simple.
Oh, most definitely. And for those that, might not be paying too much attention to Metroplex, which by all means they should.
Yes, they should.
But there's talent from Chris Bay on the show.
Yeah.
Two members of the Rascals, and Trey Miguel and Zach Wentz on the show.
Yes, sir.
And then you got we talked a little bit of
Fuego del Sol.
Fuego del Sol's going to be there. Yeah, I almost forgot about him.
We got some boys.
Yeah, and hell, Fuego, he's actually a champion for another promotion in Des Moines, Iowa. Which, coincidentally, I'm going to be there the same night as the Destiny show.
Okay, very cool.
And
Fuego's a great guy, man.
Oh,
awesome talent, amazing talent. All the guys are amazing talent. I mean, to be a part of this kind of card is it's wacky. And then of course just the homegrown talent that we have, the likes of who will be facing Trey Miguel, Tatum Manic. That youngster right there. Another guy who is a youngster, well younger than me, has taught me so much about wrestling. I mean, I think I've, in terms of like in-ring strategy, I think I've learned more from that guy than anybody, I feel. Who's, it's funny to say he's taking me under his wing, from time to he's younger than me, right? We kind of trade back and forth. I help him a little bit with his nutritional stuff. He helps me with some wrestling stuff. It's a nice relationship. But, Tatum's, that kid's a superstar alongside of, for the longest time, probably still my favorite guy to watch in ring is Tommy Becker, who will be facing Aaron Eagle.
Oh yeah,
Tommy Becker, man. I've had the pleasure of wrestling him twice. I wrestled him for the belt once, and actually, talk about fake wrestling. I compound grade 2 sprained my ankle during that match. Tore my ankle. It popped on me mid-match, but I still got to finish the match. But that just goes to show you the kind of professional that Tommy Becker is. For a man to be, I was very, very injured. I mean, seriously injured. But for me to finish that match with him and get out of there in one piece shows a lot about Becker.
Most definitely.
That guy is poetry. If you ever get to watch one of his matches, son of a gun. I first saw when he was a bad guy. And it was poetry as a bad guy. I mean, that guy, he's slimy, snakish kind of guy. But as our champion, as the face of MPX right now, that guy's amazing. He is awesome. Golly,
there are definitely those guys out there that, they get that art of really being a heel. Like, being that slimy guy, him being one of them. I know one of my personal favorites right now, Swerve. I mean, he's kind of a tweener right now, but before they had that, epic match at, I think it was Full Gear, good Lord, he was playing one sadistic son of a bitch.
If the art of being a heel is, hence another reason why, going back to myself, it's, I could never imagine being a good guy. I mean, I'll practice being a good guy all the time, and it never feels right. It's like writing with the wrong hand. It just doesn't feel good. Now, the responsibility of the heel in the match is the most important. So it takes a lot of responsibility to be green and try to be the ring general. But at the same time, being a heel is just, if you do it right. And like I say, and like you mentioned with Swerve there, if you do it right, there's this thing about a lot of heels these days. They want to be badasses. They want to be badass heels. I want to be the Punisher kind of guy. And that's
almost an anti-hero sort of thing.
And that's not exactly, it's an anti-hero, not a heel, right? I mean, they can't take the boos as cheers. It hurts their feelings or something of this nature. I want the praise, so I'm going to be a badass and get the praise as well. They're going to like me because I'm a badass, and that's the problem. That's a problem in the game. You need to be despised. You need to be so despised. Like, you need to then not want to see you next week because they hate you so much, but you keep showing up. That's the kind of heel someone needs to be. I strive for that. Sometimes I think people are liking me too much, so I got to try to be a dick.
Yeah, no, you want them to, maybe they don't want to see you, but then it's like they see you on a show, or you're advertised for a show, and it's like, I want to go there because I want to see him get his ass kicked.
Oh, of course. I want, and and you know what? And it's, we all know wrestling is wrestling, man. But the thing about a lot of guys when it comes to being a heel is a lot of guys don't want to get their asses kicked. Let's just be honest. A lot of guys want to be the winner. They want to, walk out with their hand up. They want to win a 1, 2, 3. They hit their finisher, get up on the ropes, put their hand up. But the problem is that only one of the guys in the match is going to get to be the guy that does that. The other guy, the more important role is the guy who doesn't do that, because it gives you something to cheer for. And a lot of guys, they just don't want to handle losing because they think losing means they lost. That's not what it means in wrestling. Like, that's not what it means at all.
Oh yeah, there's definitely situations out there where they might have lost a match, but in the performance of the match, they've made so much of an impression on people that losing that match really didn't do anything negative to them.
No, it sometimes, a loss will show exactly how important your role is in this cog, in this game. So like sometimes putting another guy over the right kind of way, you accidentally get yourself over because you lost so well. And that's the case. I mean, dude, I've lost way more than I've won, and I've never won clean. Let's be honest, man. But you know something? I'm booked every single week.
Okay. And
yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say, going to, talking about Destiny, you're advertised for a we talked about ECW. You're in a hardcore tag match.
Yes, sir, I am, and I am ecstatic. I am ready. Golly, I'm going to go against we'll call my partner beat him last week, so we're going to call my partner the king of hardcore. But Sky De La Cremosa is a madman. That man is, golly, he doesn't feel pain. He doesn't know what pain is. So going into a hardcore match with a guy like that is definitely daunting. But then you have the counter. You have Mr. Legs. Now, I mean, that guy, the first night I went to a wrestling show, I went to MPX. It was the going away show, and Legs is a on and off wrestler. He'll take a break and go back to the leg cave or wherever he goes, and then he'll come back and make a triumph and return. And I tell you what, man, nobody's more over than Legs. When Legs comes out, that roof comes off. And when I saw, I hadn't seen any local wrestlers. And a lot of guys that come out, that guy's a wrestle guy, that guy's a wrestle guy, then Legs comes out. And I'm like, now this is wrestling. This is it to me. This is exactly what a gimmick is, right?
Oh yeah.
Comes out, no shame, and the crowd is just, they can't get enough. They're begging for more. And it doesn't make any damn sense what this guy is. His character is Legs. That's his whole thing, And this guy, tremendous character. So going into a match with these two guys, there's such a contrast of each other, but in a way it works. And it's gonna be wicked. It's gonna be wicked. I'm not gonna say I'm not nervous.
No, and I agree with you on, there's definitely characters out there that you think, but you think like, wow, because there's been some like here local to me that there's a handful that we hear are like, why aren't these guys signed yet? Because there's one that kind of had a similar type of gimmick, but he's kind of switched it up a little bit recently. But now, at the time, he was called the Buns of Steel. And like his whole thing was I joked with him about at the time that it was like his buns were packed like Lex Luger's forearm.
Oh yeah, lead packed.
And like
Steel plates.
one of his signature things was, he'd go and like run and then twist and like bump into the guy's head with his butt, and I'd be like, "Oh, you killed him!"
Gimmicks like that, and when it comes to making it to the show, AEW and WWE, TNA, it doesn't really matter. Any syndicated promotion, it's a situational at the time. Where does that wacky gimmick fall in the time? Some gimmicks are ahead of their time. Some are past their prime, and you're only going to get one of these wacky gimmicks. You get one or two of those guys at the show at a time as comic relief, even though those guys are tremendously over always. You just can't have too many of them, right? Because then we got cartoon era, and so many guys out there with such impressively original and just out there gimmicks that don't make any sense, and that's exactly why they're great. And those guys, I wish I could think of some gimmick like that. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Like you said, I'm a wrestling kind of guy, so I mean, I'm just gonna go out there and gonna wrestle. But as a straight up, my gimmick is my wrestling, to where I can throw a lot of my, my trope into the wrestling. That's an art in itself, man. Said legs is a guy. You ever get time to chance to watch one of his matches, man? It's fun from start to finish.
I'm definitely gonna have to keep an eye on that. And the guy that I mentioned, he's kind of switched it up now. Like I said, he's basically just called All Steel, which he's had matches like hell. Just the last show for that promotion I went to was one of it was the rubber match in a series against Mike Bennett.
Okay, yeah.
And I've actually had him on the show when he was still the Buns of Steel, and I joked with him, and I believe it's towards the end of his episode where I'm like, I want to do this thing where it's like, yeah, let's see if your buns are really made of steel. So I act like I'm winding up and right in, and then I'm like,
Yeah, right.
My hand.
I love stuff like that. I wish there were more. I want more gimmicks like that around us. It's just, once again, a lot of youngsters afraid to do it. Afraid to be wacky or out there, because of the whole, well, I want to make it to the show. I want to make it to the WWE. Everyone's going to the big league, apparently, and the idea of not being able to just, well, you got to entertain these fans first.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I know you want to entertain everyone at home on their televisions, but there's a whole crowd of folks here who want entertainment, and they're going to come out every single week and pay you every week. I mean, these people live for this day. They're waiting for the weekend. These are the people that matter right now.
Oh yeah.
And don't worry, they'll follow you when you go to the big league too, but you need to take care of them now. And gimmicks can change. They can always change. The biggest, the best of all time have all gone through how many gimmicks? The best ever.
We're talking about Stone Cold. The way he started in the Sportatorium was way different than the Bionic guy that we know.
Exactly that. Mark Calloway, The Undertaker, man. How many guys was he? How many guys was he until one finally stuck? And it was a time thing, So at the end of the day, these guys are all so afraid to be a little goofy, to be a little different, because they want, that original IP, and that's going to be my thing, and I'm going to own my name, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like the entertainment business you start local theater and you work your way up.
Yeah.
You'll go, Brad Pitt is not Brad Pitt in every movie. Okay, he's a different guy every single time, and he's happy with it. But he started down here at the local place, taking care of the people who are paying that physical ticket. That is wrestling. And if more wrestlers understood this, we'd have more people at local wrestling shows. Because I think one of the biggest issues, you hear about it constantly, wrestlers wrestling for wrestlers. We hear about it day in and day out. And the crowd, the fans they're a byproduct of that. And that really, really hinders. And this is from an outsider. Like I said, I came into it as an outsider. I came into it as not even a casual fan, just a guy who walked in off the street. That's sometimes a fresh eye like that is what an industry might need.
Oh yeah.
Someone to walk in and say, what the heck is this? Right? Let me look at this thing. I'm going to respect it and learn it, but there should be more people here. Right?
Yeah.
That.
And you think, putting that impression on people at that level, if you eventually make it to the big time, like you said, those people are going to follow you because you made that impression on them back then. And then they'll be like, oh my God, I remember going and seeing them at some, whatever high school gym or whatever.
Yeah, and I saw him at a flea market. I saw that guy back then and then, and that gives a sense of pride for your hometown, right? Because one thing also, wrestling ends. It ends at some point. There's only going to be a few Mount Rushmore guys who get to keep on coming back at 50, 60, yada, 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 legends contracts. 99% of guys, the train's going to stop. And then you're going to have to go back home, and you're going to have to go work back in those high schools and those flea markets again. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah. It's just life is a rainbow. Okay, you start here, you get there, you go there. That's how it works. So the folks at home need to know that you were always with them. So when you come back home, they're still with you. That's just one simple thing that it's hard to tell a very young man, a very impatient man who wants to get to the top. I guess since I got into it older, I'd already lived a whole life before that, and I don't need wrestling as a career. I already have a career. I actually use wrestling as promotion for my actual career. This is a sporting endeavor to send people to my nutrition stores. That's why I essentially got into it. So having said that, I've pulled a lot of people who would never go to a wrestling show into the wrestling show. They never watched it on television. They consider wrestling to be like the circus, but that's okay. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, they're buying their ticket. They're getting entertained. So I'm sure there are people who follow circuits, right? Who know all the acrobats, who know all the such and such. I'm sure there are, but let's fill up the rest of that crowd with casuals who want to walk in and be entertained at a wrestling show. That's what independent wrestling is. People need to know that there isn't just WWE, AEW. There's a local wrestling show down the street that's got seats, and they're only $20, and you can get right there at the action. Oh yeah,
for a portion of the price that you'd pay to sit that close at WWE or AEW, and then you also get the fact of you're getting a little more interaction with those people in the ring than you would there on the national TV show.
So many people I've brought in that would have never ever stepped foot into a wrestling show, but they come because they know me. They're like, I'm coming back next week. I got to get more of this. And they would have never, ever, ever saw wrestling and said, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go watch this. But because they knew me and they knew me from my past life, because they come to my bodybuilding shows, they come to this. Well, this is way more entertaining. I can bring the kids. My kids loved it. They got to come back. It's a fun endeavor. It's family entertainment. And that's another part about it that more folks just probably need to understand again. This is a family show, no matter where you're wrestling you go to. Even if you go to some hardcore back alley, whatever kind of spot, there's some families that love that. There's always going to be that. So in independent promotions, I wish more of the youngsters saw it like that, saw it as these fans are why I'm here. I'm not here. These fans are why I'm here kind of thing. And the vice versa. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That kind of thing. Like, I'm here to take care of them, and in return, they take care of me. That's how this works.
Most definitely. Most definitely. Well, I have two categories here that I like to, fit in here. First one's a bit of a name game where I name off some people and, you give me first thoughts that pop into your head.
All right.
And, I try to theme it towards the guest as much as possible. And these people they're all big names, and they've all had that Texas tie, whether they've been billed from Texas, whether they got their start in Texas. Texas is the, key factor with all of them.
Okay.
First one, I guess I had forgotten that she was from Texas, and she's made a splash in a couple different promotions. Hell, she had a great showing in the Royal Rumble. Jordan Grace.
Man, Jordan Grace, awesome. Super, super awesome. In my other field, bodybuilding field, she's made some splashes in that field due to her major transformation physique-wise. And as just an in-ring talent, amazing. My wife is have you ever heard of World's Strongest Man?
Yes.
They pick up the cars and the boulders. My wife is a professional in that sport. She's a monster of a woman. Now she retired from that and got into wrestling with me at one point after a bad ankle injury. But we got pregnant, had a baby. She had to stop training. Now she had no idea of any wrestling at all. Could not name one person ever. Big name, little name, no name. But Jordan Grace is someone that she started looking into in terms of a person to mimic her style of wrestling behind. Because my wife is similarly built, very much so similarly built to Jordan. So Jordan has impact all over the field. Wrestlers like that are amazing for the business because it's crossover potential. The fitness community is a gigantic community. It's one of the number one social media communities out there. You get more of that into wrestling, you get more revenue streams through wrestling. She is awesome. I cannot wait to see the wacky stuff she does, man.
Oh yeah, like I've enjoyed the multiple runs she's had with the TNA Knockouts title, and when I swear when I was watching the Royal Rumble, and when I heard what her music hit, I'm like, because I didn't think it was even a possibility.
Right, definitely that. Which that shows that right there also. Not only in terms of Jordan Grace is a great, amazing talent, but also the state of where wrestling's at right now.
Yeah.
To where the door, whatever, the F word, the F door, the door, there isn't one. And that nonsensical barrier between talent and promotions it's becoming thinner. That, and also for it to be a woman to be able to kind of cross over is incredible for wrestling, incredible for sports in general, incredible for entertainment. And that's really, really cool to see what they've done with her, what she's been able to do, what she's been allowed to do. And man, it's going to open the door for more people. I cannot wait to see it.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I just remember when, like I said, when the music hit, I was like, wait, who?
Yeah, you're wondering what show
are they introducing somebody here?
Yeah.
And then I see her walk out, and I'm like, oh damn.
Yeah. And that was bigger than wrestling news. That also that itself was bigger than wrestling news. That made other news outlets.
Oh yeah.
That's how
all over.
That's how important that was whenever wrestling news breaks out of wrestling and turns into just daily news. Star of other promotion makes big splash on the big stage, that kind of stuff, like that is so good for this. Wrestling is a big deal right now. And it's almost on level of like where we were before in terms of just the attention that it's getting. more of that. More of that needs to be happening.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Now, the next two people I have actually been able to meet. And, well, I even got a signed figure from one of them back here. The first one, though, the limitless one, Keith Lee.
Funny thing about Keith Lee. Keith's awesome, man. I've met Keith in and out of wrestling, you know. Once again, the crossover between my business and my actual livelihood and wrestling, it just knows no bounds. It's so funny because Keith and Athena are very good friends. And whatever they took on the promotion, he's made a few appearances. He actually wrestled Aaron Eagle at the first Wrestling Revolver NPX merging show we did at the Epic, the first one.
Yeah.
He wrestled Keith. That was awesome.
Yeah, we talked about that one.
Yeah, and Keith, he's a beast of a man. But I never actually ever got the between all the hustle and bustle, the wrestling shows. I mean, he's a reserved kind of guy. I never got time to actually have a conversation with him until one day he walks into one of my stores and I'm there. And it was just it was a weird moment because here's the thing, I don't fanboy over anybody. So I mean,
yeah,
I've seen the guy backstage, remember, it's wrestling, what I'm saying? It's just another guy. We all live in the same town, at the end of the day, but he comes in and, I'm sure he gets it a lot. Oh, you're Keith Lee. I'm like, oh, hey, man, what's going on, Keith? And it's like, it was a familiarity because we hadn't talked, and he kind of had forgotten who I was because I never had a conversation with him. He's like, what's up? And I'm like, oh man, I wrestled for Athena at MPX. And then it came off and it's, oh, well, hey, how you liking it? This yada yada yada, what have you, So but Keith, awesome beast of a man. I mean, the gifts that guy has in terms of just being himself, the frame, the personality. Keith's cool, man. He's a cool dude. But you never know if you're on his bad side or not. If you're you never know if you are.
It's like he was, when I met him, soft spoken, definitely, but yeah, you can, like, I've heard stories like when you'll find out when you're on his bad side pretty damn quick. Like,
yeah.
Like he might be soft spoken, but you'll notice that little change in his voice. You're like, okay, I'm gonna shut up.
Yeah, leave this guy alone. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you gotta be careful with the questions you ask him. Great guy, though. Great guy.
Oh yeah, I've got nothing but great things to say about him. One of my favorite, well, somewhat recent wrestling memories involved him yeeting Adam Cole into a crowd.
Oh yeah.
That famous video of him just pouncing up out of nowhere and just
fling him. Dude's a beast, man.
Oh yeah,
that's ancient strength. Beast.
Now the next guy, another guy I've got to meet, coincidentally again at Revolver, and I am so happy for him now being, as they say, all elite. The bounty hunter, Brian Keith.
Oh man, I've always been there and never next to him. So I've never actually gotten to have a conversation with him yet. And that makes me kind of sad. I've yet to be able to go to a show and actually have a conversation with him. But the first time I ever saw him wrestle was for a company called Pally Pro. They're a smaller promotion here in Texas. And I didn't know anything about the game at all. So he comes out and the crowd was just, ravenous over this guy. And I'm like, man, okay, this guy, there's something about this guy, right? And then he gets in the ring and starts working. And I'm like, okay, that's what's about him, and this, the level of pride he has for his hometown, for his state. And the way the fans love this guy, that's what you wish for when you get into wrestling. when it feels like the fans pushed you into the starlight. You know what I'm saying? Like it really felt like when he got signed, it felt like all the fans just held AEW up by gunpoint and said, "Put him on now. You have to. You have to." It felt like that kind of hire,
Oh yeah.
which is exactly something that every wrestler wants.
Yeah.
Is to just because there are lots of guys who they got a good look and they get put in. They know a guy who knows a guy, right? But when your work and the love of your work by the paying fan, these people go out of their way to blast the internet with praises of you and the hashtag sign Brian Keith, like all these. That is wrestling, and that shows you got something special. That guy,
Oh yeah.
awesome talent, awesome talent. If I had a shred of that talent, you know what I'm saying? He's amazing guy.
Now, last but not least here, I joke about this, but pretty serious. If I were ever able to get this guy on the podcast, I could never do another interview episode and I'd be just as happy, because I don't think I'd ever be able to top it. I kind of talked about him a little bit, but Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Golly, how'd I know you were going there? Man, Stone Cold, dude. When I was growing up, I had to say that I wasn't the biggest Stone Cold fan. Not that I didn't like him, but I can't say that I was like, as he was as polarizing to me. I guess I was more of a rock guy.
Yeah.
You sometimes gravitate towards the guy who kind of like fits your build a little bit more. I'm a little on the Tanner side, so The Rock is kind of my guy. And Stone Cold was like the other side of the tracks, if you would. There's badasses on both sides of the tracks,
Oh, yeah.
and they're living both different kinds of lives. But as for Stone Cold Steve Austin, as of course the greatest of all time, what he was able to do for the business, and once again, it's always that, lightning in a bottle at the time. Because going back and, I was a little bit too young, way too young to understand anything he was doing in like the ECW times or his prior WCW work. I was like, I was born in 91, man. So at the end of the day, I was 4, 5, 6 years old whenever he was, really doing the grind between promotions. And whenever he gets in WWE, I'm finally of age to kind of understand, that this guy, he doesn't like homework either. That kind of guy. So a kid understands that, and I definitely got that. But how he was able to transform his character, the freedom he was given to do it, which you got to have both, right? You got to have both. I know we don't speak his name, Lord Voldemort. I know we don't speak his name anymore. But
Yeah.
for him to allow Stone Cold to take on that persona and go out there and essentially create two characters, because we create Stone Cold, then we create Mr. McMahon. I mean, we create two characters at one time. One does not exist without the other. And for them to have such amazing chemistry and real world chemistry, real world story, that's what storytelling really means. And for them to tell the story of the blue collar guy that had never been really told before. I mean, you can say Dusty Rhodes told it, right? But Dusty's way of telling it was more in a flamboyant way, in a sense. Like it was more like, we're having a good time. I'm the blue collar guy, but I'm here to have a good time. Stone Cold was, I'm not having a good time at all. I hate this place. I don't want to work here no more. This place sucks.
He was the blue collar guy that's like, you know what? I'm just here to drink beer and kick ass.
Yeah, that's it. And in reality, the worst employee of all time. You know, if you look at it, just a bad employee, man. Never does his job. Doesn't want to work, man. But we got to keep up. The guy keeps showing up, right? But Stone Cold, I mean, of course, yes, the greatest of all time in terms of what he was able to do. I mean, a lot of people want to talk about, Flair as the best ever, right? Some would say Flair, some would say Michaels, some would say Brett. I mean, these are all obviously runners for
Yeah.
greatest of all time, but they each are greatest of all time in a more of a, I feel more of a in-ring stance. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Sean being the most entertaining, Brett being the most technical storytelling. Flair, yeah, on the mic work is tremendous, but a lot of his stuff really got over as how he was such a coward in the ring, but was still able to always come out on top. Versus
Yeah.
Stone Cold was the first guy to bring it to your house. He was the first guy that like, nah, man, I live next door, right? I'm that guy. I'm the guy, who doesn't mow his lawn that often. You know what I'm saying? I'm the guy who's got the dog chained up in the back. I'm that guy. And that's a guy that we know. That I can't think of anybody else who was as prolific like that. You can say Sandman, but Sandman was just a lunatic. He was just a crazy person. Versus Stone Cold was like, well, this guy, he gets up and goes to work. He's he's still driving a, 84 Trans Am or some shit like that. And he's going to work every day and he doesn't give a damn. That really pushed wrestling out there as a reality TV medium.
Yeah.
I'm saying that was like real. It felt real for the first time. Like,
oh yeah,
we didn't know if he was faking.
Yeah. No, we're wrestling, especially back in the heyday of the Stone Cold character, where wrestling would literally be breaking into pop culture in a way that literally hadn't been done since WrestleMania started.
Well, sure, and even then, the pop culture, the WrestleMania when it started, in my mindset, looking back and like in retrospect, was wanting to compete with the Super Bowl. It was wanting to be, we're going to bring in larger than life stars, and we're going to try to compete with the Super Bowl here, and like our athletes are going to take a seat next to these larger than life stars. The Stone Cold era, the Attitude era itself. Well, no, now these guys are the stars. And now you're going to bring them to your show. Now Stone Cold's going to come make an appearance at the Super Bowl, and that's a big deal. As opposed to Lauper coming to the WrestleMania, and that's a big deal. You know what I'm saying? Now you got the wrestlers, they're going on tour, talk shows, and all this stuff. They're pop stars themselves. That era, because once again, it's so funny to think that McMahon comes out and says, hey, this is all a farce. This is all a work. This is all a show. And it starts to feel more real than it ever was.
Mm-hmm. What's funny to think about it, but yeah, very true.
That's the art of it. Was, you know what? No, we're a television show. Okay. When you watch us, when you watch any show, any television show you watch, it is strategically written to relate to something in your life. 9 times out of 10, there's a relationship problem, a job problem, a bill problem, a kid problem, a wife problem, a whatever problem, right? Mm-hmm. That's television as a whole. So at the end of the day, wrestling is going to relate to a problem in your life. And in between that, some guys are going to fight about it. And that's it. And that's what makes it great. People talk about the wrestling purists, the New Japan style, strong style. And I love that style of wrestling as a wrestling fan. It would not survive on syndicated television here in America because it is boring. Okay. Watching guys just wrestle without story does not hold the casual audience.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That does not get you a 3-hour time slot on primetime television. Okay. They rather put on some reality show because we're wrestling fans, you and I. We love to watch, the most technical, awesome wrestling match, but we're 2 guys versus to billion. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, we want billions of people to watch wrestling. So you got to give them a little bit of everything. There are
Yeah.
people who watch wrestling just for the story, man. They zone out during the technical bout between such and such, and they're getting on to the next story spot. And there is nothing wrong with that.
Not at all.
And Stone Cold, like it or not, let's be honest, dumbed down his wrestling to be Stone Cold.
You know what? Yeah, when you look back at his early stuff, yeah,
Technical
very
powerhouse. And he was a wizard in the ring. You know, you go back watch some of that Japan stuff. That man could fly with anybody. You know, you got him on the top rope. I mean, I know he had injuries when he got back to the States and started doing the run, but golly,
his stuff with Ricky Steamboat.
Exactly that. Amazing work in the ring. Could get in there and do it during a time when wrestling was still a competition, was still a fight, right? So it needed to look very much so like a fight. Then we say, well, this is entertainment, and we're here to entertain in all arenas of entertainment. Now you have a Stone Cold, just like a Hulk Hogan, dumb down their moveset a little bit to tell a better story, because telling the story with just holds and slams and spots wasn't getting over. Let's just be honest. The crowd wanted stop a mud hole in you, flip you off, give you a stunner, we're gonna drink a beer. That's what they wanted to see after a hard day of work. That's what they wanted. They wanted to see Stone Cold kick their boss's ass, and not in a technical wrestling bout. You know what I'm saying?
No, most definitely.
That itself is why Stone Cold is, in fact, like I said, he's the best. Hulk Hogan is a lot of people talk down on Hulk these days for some reason. I don't understand why. You know, oh, he was boring, yada, yada, yada. The man knew what he was doing.
And hell, like Stone Cold, you look at his stuff in Japan, dude.
A wizard. Amazing on the mat. I mean, these guys, it's not like you gotta know how to wrestle to be a wrestler. Let's be honest, man. We all learn how to chain. We all learn how to do stuff. You know, you got to learn that stuff before you actually get into the game. But some guys, that stuff don't work for. You know, sometimes give them the boot, drop the leg, do that, and the crowd's gonna eat it up. So why wouldn't I just do that?
Yeah,
that doesn't make any sense, right? Guys who just want to, once again, like I said earlier, wrestlers wrestling for wrestlers and not for the audience. That can be an issue sometimes.
Well, I can definitely see that. Now I have some random questions. Some might be wrestling related, some might not be, some might have absolutely nothing to do with anything we've talked about so far. I give you the question, first answer that pops into your head.
I'm gonna do it.
First one, craziest in-match moment for you.
Craziest in-match moment for me, it has to be that messing up my ankle with Tommy Becker.
Yeah, I would say that would be a hard one to beat.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, it showed me, and I'll try to be quick about it, but it showed me that I was able to work while I was hurt. I mean, the way the spot went was I'm outside the ring, Tommy jumps out, I go to catch him, we go down this way, my ankle goes out that way. Felt the pop, and we're halfway through the match. And I'm on, this is the first time I've had a legitimate injury in a match. That wasn't like a practice match that I can say, okay, timeout. You know, we're right here by the crowd. My ankle's popped. I don't know if it's broken. I don't know anything. And I know we still have some time left. It's the main event, and I'm wrestling for the title. This is the biggest moment of my life so far. You know what I'm saying? And like, I need to make this work. I get up, I check the ankle, we go to work, I finish the match, I go back, I don't walk for 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's a hard one to beat for sure. And definitely shows what you're capable of. Now, we're on, as of recording this, on the heels of another WrestleMania 40.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has a favorite match or moment. What would you say favorite WrestleMania match or moment for you?
For coming up or in general?
In general.
In general, golly, man, that's a really super tough one to think about. Golly, that puts guys on the spot, right? Mm, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think it. I get my days wrong sometimes,
That happens.
but I get my pay-per-views mixed up sometimes, and I don't know if this was WrestleMania or not. This match happened. That match with Brock and Kurt, where he did
The shooting
that,
star press.
that wasn't WrestleMania, wasn't that
That
was
was WrestleMania in Seattle, I believe.
okay. That match in general, not the shooting star press by any means, but the match itself. To see Kurt and Brock go at it like that was it taught me a lot. And this is when I was a kid, but I went back and revisited it recently. And just we back, I the show's the show. I forget the show it was on. You know what I'm saying? But the match I'm revisiting because of how much I loved the match, and just to see two guys of different of the same caliber, different statures. I mean, Kurt Angle. I mean, in terms of in-ring all-around worker, as in like guy who can wrestle. Kurt's the best ever.
No,
Ever. And to see those guys go at it like they did, and of course Brock to get legitimately hurt and then still finish up the way they did, was a spectacle to see as a youngster. And now as an older guy, being able to see the retrospect behind the scenes, the talking about it, just puts it up there for me. So that match in general is my number one.
That's a good one. I know. Speaking of the Stone Cold fan, I am the submission match he had with Bret Hart, where like that image of Stone Cold in the sharpshooter, him screaming, blood dripping down his face.
Oh yeah,
the whole memory of him not tapping out, but he like passed out.
Yeah, that's legendary. Which goes to once again losing. You know,
exactly.
When a guy loses and goes over, you know, how you never know what loss is going to cement you. Because when you're if you're not the top guy already, you're gonna lose a lot. That's just the way it is. How graceful or how well can you lose? You know, Stone Cold working his ass off right there. I mean, and Brett, Brett doing technically his job is winning, but winning subtly, a quiet thing. You know, who would have thought? But yeah, that's wicked choice.
Oh yeah, I mean, I could pick a few involving Stone Cold. But all right, next one. Whether it be national TV, independents, there is a lot of traveling up and down the roads in the wrestling business. And, people pass the time oftentimes with, their favorite music, different playlists. What would you say, like a song or two that you would put on a road trip playlist?
On a road trip playlist, if I'm road tripping, I'm listening to all 80s new wave. I mean, I'm a Depeche Mode guy. I got Depeche Mode tattoos. That's my number one for me. Anytime I'm on the road, man, going anywhere, it's 80s new wave, 80s electronica. I'm not a power ballad kind of guy. Yeah, I'm all synths and my favorite style of music is in industrial type metal, so all synthesizers and things like this. I'm actually super into electronic music like that, not dance music. I'm not a dancer. I don't dance, but I'm very much so into like we all have hobbies outside of whatever that we wish we were good at. You know what I'm saying? And I really, I was able to be good at how to put this. I was able to be good at physical things, wrestling, bodybuilding, stuff like that. I was never able to be good at stuff I wanted to be good at. I wanted to be good at like piano and electronic synthesizers. I wanted to understand how to do that. And, later in life, I try to teach myself every year. I still suck, but that's what I really, really love doing. So yeah, if it's road tripping, whatever's got keyboards and electronics, we're doing that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a little bit of everything.
Mhm.
Most people think rock or country, but hell, I even got some damn rap on my phone. Not so much like the stuff that I listen to would be considered more old school because
Mhm.
it's like I listen to the okay, it makes me think of this meme I saw where it was titled uh listening to today's rap, and it's literally somebody squatted down with some wired headphones in, but the headphones are leading from their ears into a trash can.
Yeah, current rap is trash. I will tell you though, like, I mean, when it comes down to it, I'm very much so an aficionado in all kinds of music. I'm a rap fan, but at the same time, if we're talking about anything after the 2000s, and this isn't just me being, talking like a boomer, by any means, it actually just isn't good. I mean, but we can say that unfortunately about so much music these days,
Oh yeah.
right? Rock music itself, I mean, there hasn't been much inspiration in a long time. They keep on saying rock's dead. I mean, no one's proven anything different in current time.
Yeah.
We're looking. The problem you run into is when you got bands from 30 years ago still headlining festivals. That's a problem.
Yeah.
These big time bands like the big rock bands. Big the Tools and the Rammsteins and those kind of guys, they're headlining these festivals where they should be like second or third act, to a new guy, but they're not. It's not happening. I think as of right now, I hate to say it's the internet's ruining this generation, but people are running out of ideas, man. It has a restart. But yeah, I'm a little bit of everything, man. A little bit of everything. But like I said, if it's a long trip, something about what keeps me upbeat, keeps me feeling good is always that new wave style stuff.
Yep. Nothing wrong with that. Everybody's got their taste. I know I got mine.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with the name of a show like I have, I would feel weird if I didn't have this question. Favorite drink, whether it be alcoholic or non, or hell, one of each.
Mm. So I mean, I don't drink alcohol anymore. Nothing against it by any
But
means.
not
I just don't. I've never been an alcohol guy, man. But
totally fine.
as for favorite drink in general, man, if I can have one drink, I was always going to drink. Man, that's a tough one. Let me think, because nothing's coming right to mind. 'Cause I'm always just drinking water, So, um, I'm gonna be real boring. I'm gonna say uh Pib Zero. Pib
Okay.
Extreme Zero. That's one that I'm a big fan of Pib. Big fan of Pib.
I I'm the type, I'm more of a Dr. Pepper fiend myself, but
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not the type that if I'm at a restaurant and I ask for Dr. Pepper, but they say, is Pib fine? I'm like, yeah, fine. That's
Yeah.
fine.
You know what's so funny? You know what's actually funny about what you just said, just in general about that question? If you ever go to a restaurant and let's say you ask for Dr. Pepper or Pib, or let's do the Coke one. Do you have Coke? No, we have Pepsi. Is that okay? Well, first of all, that should be the worst thing to ask me because obviously they're the same drink. And I
Yeah.
asked for one of the other ones. No, I'm not just asking for cola, I'm asking for Coke. You should ask me if I want sweet tea instead. Like Pepsi should be my least favorite drink ever. If that's the question.
Yeah.
I've never understood that question. It should be asked me as something completely different.
Yeah. You know what? I get that logic. I never really thought about it that way, but I
I
I
don't think anyone does. No one does. When you're choosing a cola, you choose Coke, Pepsi, or some guys are Royal Crown guys, Royal RC guys. So if you ask somebody for a different one, that's their least favorite drink. The least favorite by
yeah.
far in that category.
Yeah. All right. Last but not least here, best advice you have for anybody wanting to get into wrestling.
Oh man. Uh, do it for the fans. That's it. You know, I mean, you can be long-winded, you can be short-winded about it, but do not wrestle for wrestlers. Don't. That's, you're gonna get with guys who want to do 1,000 spots and this and this and this, and because they're wrestling for Instagram. They're wrestling for 1 million people who would never come to their show. You know what I'm saying?
You got to wrestle for the people that are actually paying to be there to watch you.
Yeah, the paid customer. And sometimes they like that, sometimes they don't. But the thing is everyone wrestling for other wrestlers to get shared or likes or whatever it may be. And there's 1 million people within miles from you that have never seen you work and would probably actually like to see you work if you really promoted yourself locally and wrestled for those people in that mindset, as in the people that are there. Well, golly, that guy really just likes us. Let me tell my friends about this place. That guy really, really cares about us as a crowd. Let's get some more people in here. And that's it. There's what else hasn't been said. Everyone's been told all everything. Don't live your gimmick. That kind of crap. Don't be the guy you are in the ring. Okay, we get that. But yeah, wrestle for the folks at your show, and no matter whether it's 10 people or 10,000, wrestle for them. Like I do my best. And like I said, I constantly say this, that I'm green. I'm new, right? I've done really well for a new guy. Right. I mean, I'm consistently on a show. I'm on drinking Njpw.
Hey.
Right. I've made it right within a year span of being in a wrestling ring. And and from the jump, I understood that the paying customer, the fan, this is everything to them. This 2 hours on a Saturday night, they got up, they got dressed, they got the kids, they fed them, they got them in the car. It's raining, it's cold, it's hot, it's whatever. They came to this show.
Mm-hmm.
They deserve that entertainment for them.
Oh yeah. And you think about it, when people that are wrestling fans, there could be anything going on outside of that show with them. They could be having an absolute shit week.
Yeah.
But then they know, hey, I got this going on this week. I'll push through, I'll get to that. And at least for that little bit of time that they're at that show, that's their escape. The other stuff outside of that doesn't matter for that little bit of time.
Exactly that. They get a couple hours a week of reprieve, to go in there and, cheer who they want, boo who they want. So if you're a heel, you better be dastardly. You better make them cheer till they, or boo till they can't boo no more. Cause that's what they came to do. If you're a face, I mean, you better put on a show. And that, for the youngsters coming in, who they're always on those reels on TikTok and that yada yada, and they're seeing these awesome, cool flippity whippity spots, which is cool sometimes, man. It's badass, really cool to see. But you're not interacting as much with the folks out there in the crowd when you're setting up 75 flips. When you're too busy setting up this spot every single week. Sometimes just getting out there and getting down with them and talking to them. Sometimes that's going to do something for them. They felt special that week. So that's simple, brother. I wish I had more, but that's all I've understood so far.
No, that's perfect. Well, that is about all I have.
Awesome.
But before we go, where can people find you social media wise, so if they don't already have their eyes on you, they can go ahead and get them there?
Man, all my social media is just Dae Deville. I only use Facebook and Instagram because I'm an old man. I don't understand the scary TikToks and other stuff like that. I barely have the time. Primarily because my business, I do all other crap all day. I want to keep my stuff as simple as possible, and of course, yeah. I wrestle locally, man. So you can find me local. But yeah, Dae Deville. It's all my names are out there. And then if you're ever in the North Texas area, if you're ever down here in DFW near Dallas, Metroplex Wrestling, the only Texas promotion that has a show every week, every Saturday night. I'm there every week. We're having a damn good time. Y'all got to get out there to Destiny this weekend if you're around. It's going to be crazy, wacky. I'm sure people are going to see it all on the internet. I'm going to see some awesome stuff. But if you're around and you haven't got your tickets yet, golly, come on, let's get it done.
Oh yeah, and hell, I know I'll be at Revolver, but I'm definitely going to be paying close attention, seeing how that show for you guys goes.
Well, you're forgiven since Revolver is like, our family promotion. You know what I'm saying? We have ties. You're forgiven this weekend for going to Revolver by all means. The only one you're allowed to go to. But man, I'm excited for it, brother. I'm proud and honored to be a part of MPX's family for as long as I'm there, as long as they have me, and as long as I keep entertaining the folks there out in the crowd. But it's gonna be awesome. And anybody else you interview, man, they're gonna tell you the same thing.
No, that I've heard plenty of the same already. But like I said, that is about all I have. Thank you again for taking the time to talk to me tonight. Best of luck out there, not only with Destiny, but with whatever MPX and beyond has in store for you.
I thank you so much. It's been great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.